Good morning, everybody. I can see that people are logging in, which is great. So as I say, good morning. We're back. It's another webinar. Lisa and I were working out, we haven't done one since July, so we're remembering how to do them again, which is great fun. Right, green tech. As we all know, COP26 is taking place in Glasgow until the 12th of November. And to coincide with this, we thought we would hold this green tech webinar. The government has released recently two key documents, the Net Zero Strategy and the Heat and Building Strategy. The documents outline both current progress in meeting the government's net zero targets and future policy frameworks. So some of the key announcements from the Net Zero Strategy. An ambition that by 2035, the UK will be powered by clean electricity. Securing a final investment decision on a large-scale nuclear plant and launching a new 120 million future nuclear enabling fund. Further funding of 620 million for zero-emission vehicle grants and EV infrastructure, and allocating a further 350 million of the 1 billion Automotive Transformation Fund to support the electrification of UK vehicles and their supply chains. And lastly, on this one, supporting the development of sustainable aviation fuel with 180 million funding for SAF plants. And now turning to buildings, the heat and building strategy, and an ambition to phase out installation of new gas boilers by 2035, ensure the cost of buying and running heat pumps is the same as gas boilers by 2030, and boosting appeal of heat pumps through research and development. Supporting people in transitioning to heat pumps by offering grants of up to 6,000, depending on the type of heat pump installed. Go from installing around 35,000 heat pumps a year to a minimum of 600,000 by 2028, and ensure new buildings in England are ready for net zero by 2025. Supporting the development of hydrogen as a fuel for heating buildings and blending in hydrogen into the gas grid, and reducing energy consumption of commercial industrial buildings by 2030 through setting minimum energy standards. And lastly, developing a workforce pipeline to ensure people are trained to help deliver the transition to net zero. These are high targets and sound quite good on paper, but it would be lovely to see how we actually go about to achieve those. And hopefully some of the presentations today will go, a short way to answering some of those questions. I'm really pleased that we've got a good range of speakers today. And first up is Wayne Stephenson from Hounslow Council. Wayne is the Director of Environment and Climate. He has 25 years plus experience in local government, environmental management, and high-profile roles across London. So Wayne, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sally. I've got a presentation, so I'm just going to share my screen. Apologies, bear with me a sec. Sally, if you wouldn't mind just telling me whether that's visible.
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. So I'll just pop that onto slideshow for the rest of the session. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for inviting me to speak today. I thought I'd start by not only are we tackling a climate emergency, and Hounslow declared a climate emergency in 2019 and subsequently followed that up last year with a full climate emergency action plan. However, we were very conscious that there were some very acute economic impacts as a result of the pandemic, and when you double that with the need to develop and innovate around the climate emergency, quite a sort of coming together of two really significant challenges. Hounslow was not immune from the economic impact of the pandemic, and the estimate is that there'd be a 1 billion loss to Hounslow's economy over the next 3 years. So clearly, there's a need to recover from the pandemic in a strong way. But also the council took the brave step of wanting to respond to the pandemic in a green way as well. With so many of our residents affected by the pandemic, at its peak, 50,000 individuals furloughed, and there are still 11,400 and 10,000 jobs that have been lost, and 100% increase in universal credit claims. So these were absolutely significant challenges for our economy and our business sector. But we're also recognizing that for our communities and the workers that sort of really sort of stimulate those businesses, they were very significantly impacted across the age scale, but with younger people and more older people being affected significantly. And we saw a very sort of disproportionate effect on our Black and Asian minority population as well. So the way Hounslow wanted to recover is we developed 4 task forces, and we have developed a partnership recovery plan where various sort of individuals and big businesses and organizations from across the borough came together to develop what that strategy would be for recovering in a strong way. So we held a borough conference in September 2020 where there was a lot of discussion about these challenges and how we wanted to respond from that. And we ended up landing on sort of four themes, and I'm going to explain more about the sort of green theme today. But those 4 themes were renewing local economies, tackling local inequalities, empowering local residents, and reimagining our local places. And as part of that, there's a whole stream of sort of activities. But for today, I'm going to focus heavily on sort of reimagining local places and renewing our local economies. So Hounslow's green recovery, we've actually committed to some quite serious programs of work around 4 themes: creating the low carbon economy, green growth, low carbon neighborhoods, and 21st century mobility. And within that, there's a series of demonstrator projects to really get this green transformation going within our communities, within our economy. And many of the things that the government has spoken about, we're actually sort of putting that into action right now. And if I've got time, I'll share some of the successes, but if not, I'll certainly share my presentation after. So challenges for the green recovery in Hounslow, the impact of COVID, I've already covered, but the ability to take advantage of this emerging funding, both subsidies from government and otherwise, but actually stimulating new forms of green roles and green sectors and investment into our communities via the sort of private sector route is critically important as well. We want to create the sufficient pathways and career pathways into green so that we can create that new sort of green skills environment. And we very much hope that that will help the residents of Hounslow take their next steps in their career, regardless of their age or abilities. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on low carbon neighborhoods, but we have a big idea around this, and that's create net zero 15-minute neighborhoods. Essentially, what this means is that individuals don't have to travel far, they can shop locally. And we're currently undertaking a study to examine, in applying this principle, how would that impact on our communities, but also where would there be areas of business development where we could make jobs, local services, local business services available to our communities within that 15-minute sort of journey. And when we're talking about that 15-minute journey, we're talking about active travel. Can they access by cycle, or can the businesses in that last mile sort of delivery use more sort of carbon effective methodology to deliver? So this is part of the slides. I won't go into detail here, but clearly a lot of our work is around decarbonising public buildings, as well as our housing estates and private housing estates and private residences. Developing a green skills academy is a critical part of this. We're also, from a Hounslow perspective, influencing and leading actually the development of the green economy approach across London through London councils and with the GLA. So the things that we test, the demonstrators that we produce in Hounslow are at the forefront of thinking in London as well. And clearly You know, these three elements are really important to our business sector. Creating a green enterprise zone, so and creating a green innovation hub so that we can bring together the power of sort of businesses that are already green, but also stimulate and nurture the creation of new green businesses, especially when they're in that innovation zone and developing the green tech that we'll all use as we move forward. I'm very conscious of the time, so I'm going to sort of just whiz over some of the slides, but as I say, I will provide them. And to prove that work, the council has already secured over £21 million worth of funds to retrofit 33 school buildings and 30 corporate buildings. We've also secured some quite significant funding from government, and there's some new government funding to be announced for Hounslow very shortly in terms of investing and retrofitting our social housing estates. And we've also created a carbon offsetting fund, but actually increased the cost of that so that we can start to steer more of that offsetting funds into the innovation and the transformation of our communities moving forward. We're engaging schools and others, and we're very confident that we've got a good network of electric vehicle sites, over 250 in Hounslow, which is one of the biggest in London. But we can't rest there. We've been trialing new forms of transport, and we're investing this year 1.2 million in the development of clean air and addressing those challenges around the borough. So we're already seeing some successes. We've already decarbonised some of our school buildings and corporate buildings, as well as some of our homes. We've transformed the way development is happening in the borough, such that there are net zero developments coming forward. And all of this, we very much hope will contribute and enable us to be successful in the drive for Hounslow to become a net zero borough by 2030. Thank you, Sally.
You're on mute, Sally.
Apologies, as I say, I'm getting rusty at this. Thank you very much indeed, Wayne. Interesting to see what the council is doing, and it all sounds good. And I think we as a chamber are wanting to actually set up a series of sort of companies sharing best practice, how we as companies can actually embrace all things green. So watch this space really. Next speaker is from Intellicaza. Eli Kafori is the CEO and founder of Intellicaza, which won the Best Tech Business Award in the 2019-2020 Business Awards. Eli comes from an engineering background and has always had a fascination towards tech. Over to you, Eli.
Thank you so much, everybody. As Sally said, we are leading high-tech business here in Hounslow Council as well. We are proud to be part of your council as well and to contribute to green and energy. Today, it's all about how can we move forward with green and to net zero technologies, and that's at the core of our business. I'd like to present do small presentations so I can explain more what we are aiming for. So as Sally said, we are in the high-tech business. So we do smart home and office systems. I'm gonna do the presentation right now. So if you can see my screen, let me know, please, if it is shared amongst you all.
Yes, we can see that. Thank you.
And thank you so much. And so we do the smart home and the offices systems for not only just for offices and private properties, but also for buildings. And we've been doing this for many years now. We work closely with universities to work on energy saving solutions all the time. And we are in partnership with UCL on that perspective. The energy efficiency in buildings, normally buildings consume up to 41% energy, which is amongst the highest, more than the transport and more than the industry. The question remains here, how can we control this to make sure that there's no any greenhouse gas emission by the guidance of the government as well? So if you look at the numbers here, we can see that we need to take great care of existing resources to optimize energy consumption in buildings, to examine alternative energy sources, and to reduce CO2 emission. Managing the building energy could be very valuable, could be via using lighting when no one in there, or ventilation without anyone around, air conditioning in empty rooms, water use when it's not needed. So all these contribute to a high level of waste that can be controlled and can be managed moving forward. The building automation and energy management are not about foregoing comfort, but also about consistent elimination of energy flows. In the energy consumption in households by the EU and the UK main use of energy, up to 63.6% of final energy consumption in the residential sector, electricity used contribute towards almost 14.1% for the lighting, for the cooking 6%, for water heating 14%. So that's quite a huge number of excessive numbers of usage of electricity in household in the EU. Do smart homes save energy? That's the question we asked today, and this is what we always work towards ourselves as a company to see if we can help reducing this, not only for ultra wealthy people, but also for low earners and for even the council today. We're looking at different formulas to see if we can help maintaining and designing and installing system whereby it can save energy. The smart home devices can be controlled automatically, of course, remotely and geographically as well. So if a system is installed in an apartment or in a house that connect to the heating system, when people are in the property, the heating come on. When they leave the property, they forget it on. The geographical positioning system can monitor their movement, and it knows that they're away from the apartment or from the property, and it can turn on the heating automatically, meaning reducing the energy consumption. This can contribute up to 15%, sometimes in certain places to 30% if the lighting is well controlled, the heating well controlled. That can help as well. Main connected devices could be from to cool the system, let's say, or hot water systems, lighting, blinds, appliances, all sorts of things can be connected to the system. Smart home product system combined with smart grid create opportunities here, and it's good to save energy into the future, as I mentioned before. How does smart home technology save energy? That's the question we ask here. So by turning off the lights or changing the HVAC set points, i.e. by maintaining the temperature to 21 degrees throughout the day, it will be much better than having it going all the way to 24 and then switching it off and turning it on again. It's like putting your foot on the throttle of the accelerator of the car and using a lot of energy. So that's something very important. And by controlling it throughout the day, throughout the year, it can save a huge amount of energy. Similarly for the lights as well, dimming the light or even turning the light with LED bulbs today, we talk about energy. But we can also cap it to 80%, so it doesn't go all the way to 100%. Even if the light is on, to the naked eye, we don't distinguish the difference between 80 and 100%, and we're constantly saving that 20%. But if you think about it, about an entire building or entire council in this situation or borough, we can tell how much money and how much energy you can be saving into the future, and potentially helping the government to bring down the energy consumption across the board. And we can take advantage of free sources of services, i.e. we can open the blinds automatically if the lights is on outside, if the sun rises, for example, turning on the light internally when the blinds are down. Things like this can also assist in saving the energy. How does the smart technology save energy? Again, as I said earlier, with smart appliances control, smart heating control, all these things can reduce tremendously the amount of energy used by preheating, pre-cooling, shift useful services for different times of the day. For example, washing at night instead of washing during the day, turning on the machines in the evening. Things like that can also contribute towards a greener technology. We are also, as I said earlier, we are in collaboration with UCL, and this is our CSR agenda right at the top. I know UCL is not in West London, sadly, it's in North London, but we started with them back in 2018, and we continue in awareness and giving the in-depth knowledge of our practices and expertise to students for them to understand what the future may hold. and also they give them a lot of information about what the government requirements are today. How can we help them? How can we help the government? How can we help the council? So we have several topics running with UCL, as I said earlier. But recent one, which is quite important, is this situation today. It's about the data analytics to optimize building comfort level and energy performance, contributing to a more sustainable built environment. So that's where we are today with IntelliCasa, and this is what we're pushing for all the time. We have PhD students, master degree students working tirelessly on those topics, helping us to produce better AI systems and smart systems to home and building industry. And we would like to implement it moving forward to help and assist for greener technologies. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, please fire away or visit our webpage to know more about us.
Thank you very much indeed, Eli. Thank you. The thing that worries me, 64% of our main use of energy is for heating. Majority of people in London live in poorly ventilated houses. So therefore, I do worry about the air heat pumps, because I've heard that you have to have very high level of non-ventilation, if you see what I mean. I'm getting my words in a muddle. But I live in a very drafty house in Brentford, and I'm not sure it would work here. And that does worry me. Okay, next up, we have Csr Technology. Michael Keane. Csr is a successful and highly regarded end-to-end systems integrator, delivering a full range of world-class audiovisual, digital media, security systems, and home automation solutions. Over to you, Michael.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting us to be part of this event this morning. I'll just share my screen with you. Okay. Yes, as Sally mentioned there, we're a technology company, and we're based in Brentford. We also have an office up in Manchester, which actually was part of a green strategy, because we were sending people from the south all over the country to deliver projects for our clients. So seeing as we do about 50% of our business in the north of the country, it made sense for us to open up an office in Manchester and employ people locally. But there's a snapshot of what we do, and I won't go into the detail of that for this call. So as a business, just over a year ago, we actually acknowledged this topic in a sort of true sense, thinking we should do something about it for many reasons, and these are just some of the reasons that were discussed at the time. We have the climate emergency. Sally's mentioned COP26 at the moment, but we also have some details that are a bit closer to us, from a responsible business, sustainable business, and also it's something that we're seeing our clients also having expectations of us to be addressing as well. So just over a year ago, we set about a number of actions. The first action we took to make a strong commitment to making changes is we formed a group which we internally call the ESS group, and that stands for Environmental, Sustainability and Social Group. And it was open to everybody on the business who was interested to become part of. And on day one, we started out with 10 of our staff. Bear in mind, of our 40 staff, many of those are engineers who are out in the field. They possibly felt that they maybe didn't want to because they weren't going to be around. However, we ran a number of workshops, and we identified 25 actions that we could take within our business. And these range from small things such as using dishwasher less, to bigger things to how could we streamline our procurement channels and reduce the number of deliveries coming to our warehouse. We have a newsletter that gets published sort of every 4 to 6 weeks, which goes out across the business, and this covers internal news stories and external news stories that relate to environmental and sustainability news stories that are going on at the time. We also have increased our number of electric vehicles within the business, and what we have a lot of is when we go to do projects for our clients, we do a lot of decommissioning of their existing technology products. And what we've set up in both the South and the North office is a kind of a recycle or reuse process, where we actually will have an assessment of this technology, work out whether it could be reused, whether it could be reused on another project, or whether we actually, such as laptops, we would wipe the data from them and do a bit of upgrades maybe to them, and then we would issue them out to some local schools, which we've done actually a couple of times for one of the schools in the borough, Cranford School. We've just recently given them another 3 laptops that we've had decommissioned, and we've set them up suitable to be redistributed for the pupils. This is just a snapshot of some of the actions to give you some variety of what we've done. A big thing we sort of get questioned about by clients is our waste, and we were able to provide data about our waste when we were asked, but we didn't have it in a granular form. So we now keep a more detailed record of our waste. And what we've added to our waste is the food waste collections. Whilst we don't have a record that predates us starting collecting this data, what we do know just from our own sort of visual records is that our recycled waste has gone through the roof compared to what it was, and the landfill has decreased significantly. And this is the record for our year to date. It's calculated in litres. That's because the bins are in litre sizes. But what we can see is we believe we're doing a good effort of minimizing the amount of our waste that we're taking from projects, and on incoming deliveries, we're minimizing the amount of that that's going off to landfill, with only 9% going off to landfill this year. And to finish off this short presentation, I thought it'd be useful to present some of the content from our newsletters. In the early days of the newsletters, we were quite conscious about keeping people engaged in the topic, so informing them what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're going to go about it, and really trying to convince or confirm to the wider staff that this isn't one of these initiatives a company starts with good intentions but falls by the wayside. We were encouraging everybody to be involved and provide comment or ideas, and we still actually get a lot of interest and good news stories going out in our newsletters a year on from when we started it, and it's something that we will be continuing to do going forwards into the next year for us. So in a nutshell, we are saying that whilst we recognise we are a technology company and we use a lot of technology products which use energy, we are doing our best to mitigate any wasted energy that we can whilst we operate our business going forwards. And I will stop there, Sally.
Your microphone is off.
Yes, I know I'm having problems with my mouse. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Michael, there's some questions in the Q&A from Hitesh from Brunel University. So do you want to pick those up and maybe have a conversation afterwards with him? Because I think that could be a good link for you. Next up, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I was thinking that your group, ESS group, would be perfect for when we do our sort of sharing best practice. because I think we can, the smaller companies can learn from the larger companies. So we will be
Sure.
in touch. Right, our next speaker is, it's Hay and Rice. Alex and Dan from Hay and Rice, who help us with our technology. Over to you, boys.
Hello, thanks for having us on. We were approached by Sally to speak about the changes and the things that we do in-house to aim and target environmentally conscious decision-making and also to enhance our own offering. Last year, we were looking to find a way to individualize our business in a way that's truthful to ourselves and our business goals, and that would provide us meaningful benefits in the short term and long term, both in what we do in-house and the services that we offer to our clients. We realized that with some simple adaptations of existing services, that we could take advantage of automated tools from other businesses and lay foundations for like a forward-thinking evolution of our business. We're not screen sharing, are we? Let's go for that.
Yeah.
These changes focused on 3 key areas. These were becoming carbon neutral, offering a premium kind of carbon neutral service, and also looking to find a way to integrate ourselves with other businesses that share similar goals. The changes that we made rapidly snowballed into us being able to provide exciting new offerings to our clients. In many cases, the offerings that we provided to our clients have become KSPs of their own businesses. They're very flexible changes. They're very transferable from industry to industry or business to business. And we're happy to kind of run you through now the changes we undertook.
Yeah, sure. So for some context, we're a web agency based in Cambridge. We work with kind of small to medium-sized businesses. We started, surprisingly, to work more with businesses who are kind of in the eco industry. We're currently working with a electric charger installation company who share a lot of the same kind of goals as us. And part of kind of what we do now is we're part of the Ecology Network, and that's a company which you can make either yearly or monthly donations to, and they'll help you offset your carbon footprint. And it's the same with the companies we've been working with who have used this, where in this case, installing electric car chargers, he can offset like the transport to get to them and the carbon caused by actually making the chargers themselves. So we donate monthly to Ecology and offset all of our transportation kind of to and from the office and electricity and things like that. We're not in a position to be able to manage kind of the electricity that comes onto the business unit, which we're in. But it's good to know that we can kind of make a conscious decision to try and offset that a bit. There are some like pretty surprising stats about how much, like thinking on the business side of things, the effect that choosing a brand like Ecology or another network, which we're going to talk about later, can have a positive effect on like scoping for new business and things like that. I've got some stats here. Yeah, so 60% of customers feel, 66% of customers feel more positive about businesses that can prove they've tried to reduce their carbon footprint. 1 out of 5 people believe it makes a considerable effect on kind of the decision they're going to make. And that's something we've tried to kind of leverage in our favor.
Yeah. One of the things we tried to do was to create a carbon positive service. The one that we've mainly focused on is web hosting. As Alex mentioned, we are like a lot of our work revolves in the web industry, and we thought it'd be and in research on that, we realized that one Google search, for example, is equivalent to turning on a 60-watt light bulb for 17 seconds, and up to 20% of the world's total electricity consumption may be used by internet-related activities by 2025. At the same time, whilst researching that and being in the industry we're in, we realize it's often unusual for consumer or SME level hosting options to provide renewably powered solutions. So we saw that there was an opportunity for us to be able to offer a service which allows people in those sort of scales of business to get themselves hosted in a way that's carbon positive or carbon neutral. Let me go back to our notes. We researched through suppliers and created a new managed hosting option for ourselves. And it combines these environmental focuses with enhanced speed of hosting, reliability, and other premium features. Because of the way we offer them, we're able to do this for lower costs than larger organizations, And it's actually led to an increase in our managed hosting sales by around 25%. New and existing clients have asked for notes that their website is hosted in a carbon positive manner to be placed at the bottom of their websites. So it's obviously something that they feel is very relevant to their own clients and their own businesses. We've found this to be like an incredibly satisfying thing to see, that obviously to both existing and new people, they find that like a thing that is a kind of KSP that they kind of relate to. Also from a business benefit, aside from like an increase in sales, obviously these links at the bottom then go back to more information about the service we offer. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone, that they've got a hosting package which is kind of relevant to their clients. They've got hopefully a better service as well. It's led to an increase in sales and also, yeah, raising awareness of the issue in general.
And the final kind of thing I wanted to talk about was 1% of the Planet. That's a network we joined. It's become incredibly popular. You'll probably see it popping up on products in supermarkets and things like that. It was founded by the chap who founded Patagonia, and we joined it. Basically, we donate 1% of all of our profit for the year to 1% of the Planet, and they divvy that up very consciously into different environmental causes. There's some great statistics about how consumers feel about that, with 40% of people saying it possibly even influenced their decision as to whether or not to buy a product. And it's growing a lot, especially in France, surprisingly. But it's been great for us on the 1% for the Planet website. When you sign up, you can see a list of all the companies that are part of the network and communicate with them and see kind of what they've got going on environmentally speaking. So it's really handy for us. There's some really big companies there, like of course Patagonia and Oxo, and just looking at like in our industry, web agencies, you can see like a few in Cambridge and a few across the UK. And it's great to be able to kind of highlight people who share the same values as us. So for kind of 1%, it's not a major like part of our business. We're not going to go broke from being part of it, but it provides a really great benefit from us, both for us, both in terms of kind of how we feel as a company, but also providing kind of a great image to consumers, and also a cue in to be able to get in touch with people who share the same values as us. And that's the kind of presentation.
Thank you very much. I had never heard of 1% for the Planet. I'm going to, yes, I think we ought to investigate that as a chamber. It sounds very interesting and worthwhile to do. Also interesting that 66% of consumers feel positive about companies which are embracing green policies. So it does us all good as well. Our last major speaker is Dan Keenan from Trash to Go. Trash to Go is an amazing app which is being developed. And in fact, Dan, I need to actually, I met somebody I need to put you in touch with, because she's got a lot of trash that needs to go.
We all seem to have.
Anyway, yeah, I must do that after this webinar. Anyway, over to you, Dan.
Good morning, everyone. As Sally mentioned, I'm Dan. I'm the Business Development Manager here at Trash to Go. We're a West London-based domestic and commercial online waste collection service and app. Our customers will be able to book the collection of all types of waste, from bins to skips, various other different types of waste, whether it be clinical, confidential, right across the whole spectrum, really. These collections, which sets us apart from other people, is these collections can be immediate, viewed in real time from your phone or from your home. Put it in its simplest terms, it's probably going to be the Uber of rubbish collection services. Our proprietary tech will streamline the collection of waste in a sector that has notoriously had a number of service issues. But more importantly, it allows us to manage what happens to the waste after it's collected. Rubbish and its collection has traditionally been a problem that is moved along, a case of out of sight, out of mind, or sometimes, you know, it becomes someone else's problem. But the reality is very different. And with, I think Sally mentioned COP26 at the moment, highlighting climate changes issues, it's an opportunity for us to address a topic potentially the waste collection industry has ignored for years. We've built Trash to Go in a way that we hope will enable us to become potentially London's most environmentally friendly collection service. And as such, our drivers are all ULEZ compliant or in electric vehicles. And I think, as Mark mentioned earlier, it's a situation where we can divert around 95% of the waste we collect from landfill. And landfills, as you all probably know or don't know, have a huge impact on the environment and the climate. It's unfortunate that the majority of refuge collection services throughout the UK are also part owners or outright owners of the major landfill sites. So it becomes a big business, and the cheapest way to dispose of rubbish is into their sites. And if it's the sites that it's an attractive business model for them to be able to do that, and obviously it's attractive on their bottom line. The problem with this is the methane alongside the various other toxic gases that are emitted from these sites. As the sort of biological organic waste decomposes, it naturally releases the methane, potent greenhouse gas, which absorbs heat and contributes to climate change. So it's a major factor that you wanted to try and remove as much as we can from landfill. They are in fact the third largest source of human-related methane emissions, accounting for approximately 15% of these emissions in 2019. The methane emissions from landfills in 2019 were equivalent to the greenhouse gas emissions from more than 21.6 million passenger vehicles being used for 1 year. And or you can make a comparison, CO2 emissions from nearly 12 million homes energy use for 1 year. So if you put it in that comparison, you can see how much of an issue this is. So anything we can do to divert from landfill are massively environmental and climate, and it's not difficult to do. If collected in a systematic and considerate manner, as I said, over 95% of that waste can be recycled, and this reduces that impact enormously. And we have in place throughout London a number of sites where we are able to recycle and divert from landfill over 90% of waste collected, and it's not difficult to do. I think it was a 2020 report by DEFRA, Department for Environmental, Food and Rural Affairs, revealed that the British household creates over 26 million tonnes of waste each year. So the weight of around 260 large cruise ships. And that number's only increasing. So what we can do to recycle these using the new technologies that we have in place and the systems we put in place can have a massive impact on things. And we can now recycle from anything from face masks to trainers to cooking oil, mobile phones. So there really isn't any reason why these figures should increase if people are making an effort to do things. We've spent a great deal of time and research making sure that the service we provide at Trash to Go to the customers resolves the problem of waste that they have being collected. But more importantly, once that waste is collected, it doesn't become someone else's problem. It's actually dealt with in the correct way, in the most environmentally friendly way. And we're hoping to streamline and hopefully revolutionise London's waste collection service with a responsible process that treats the environment in a more friendly way. And that's my presentation this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Dan. Thank you. I'm just thinking, because I do know that is it the Townmead refuse collection centre next to Mortlake Crematorium, that's now in the ULEZ zone?
Yeah.
That people with older vehicles are up in arms because they can't get there. Well, I mean, in a way, sorry, we flogged our diesel. We now have a petrol car, so we're slowly being dragged into the green environment. But yes, it's I can see fly tipping increasing, and I think does the borough Wayne have a higher percentage of fly tipping than other boroughs, or are we on a par?
No, I mean, fly tipping is a national problem, and I think anything that the waste industry can do to prevent that. I was particularly interested in hearing what Dan said about sort of that onward journey of waste and,
yes.
and what that becomes. Actually, in Hounslow, we probably only send about 0.01% to landfill, but a lot goes to sort of waste to energy sites. Hounslow does have a particular problem with fly tipping. It tends not to be accessibility to services. Sometimes I think individuals don't know they're doing wrong, but there is definitely a gap in the commercial waste servicing of Hounslow, which is a paid for service and a choice that businesses need to make themselves. So I think there were over 22,000 incidents of fly tipping in Hounslow last year, which has prompted the council to launch a new task force. And what comes with a task force is the need to sort of also support businesses and residents to make the right choices. So we'd very, very much welcome Dan's sort of input to the market, really.
Lovely, thank you very much. Last up is Alan Wright, our MD. Alan, do you want to introduce Chris as well, just quickly?
Sure, will do. I'd also like to say, Dan, congratulations on getting your new product up. If anybody would like to know where to go to, there's a card. He's also one of the sponsors now of our Chamber of Commerce, and we're trying to put environmentally focused companies at the forefront of what we do. We should remember that our borough, Hounslow, was once one of the industrial boroughs of London, full of industrial factories like Firestone, chugging out lots of soot into the atmosphere. Boy, how we've changed. We've turned into one of the leading smart city technology boroughs across London, without central government focus on trying to push companies here. They've all been pushed to a roundabout in North London. However, without the government trying to push anybody here, we seem to have attracted some of the giants in our industry. I'm going to, 21 years ago, a former US president made a film titled An Inconvenient Truth. And at the end of the film, he finished off with a fantastic statement. And in it, he said, each one of us is a cause for global warming, but each one of us can make a change. And the things that we buy, the electricity we use, the cars we drive, and we can make the choices to bring our individual carbon emissions to zero. The solution is in our hands. We just have to have the determination to make it happen. We've everything we need to reduce carbon emissions, everything but political will. And I think now, finally, 21 years later, we've got the right political will, centrally and locally. But with that will comes a bit of responsibility on us as consumers. So we have to try and make our own decisions. And in that vein, we as a chamber have now got our own lead director on sustainability, Chris Greenwood. Chris, congratulations on your new post. Would you like to say a few things? Hurrah, Chris Greenwood, yay!
Thank you very much, Alan. And yeah, I'd really much like to thank you also for persuading me or inviting me to take on this lead on sustainability. And following on from today's extremely successful webinar or Zoominar, I'd really like to say I'm very much looking forward to promoting all the successful sustainability products that we are developing here and help people to adopt the practices that some of you are so obviously taking part in. So my background really is in digital mapping and logistics optimization. So that's helping to make deliveries in the best order and, for example, planning where to put warehouses for locating services. And when we would employ people, if we wanted them to come and work for us, we would just make them really ensure that they understood that by joining us, they were in fact helping to save the planet. So not creating waste is the best way of saving it, really. So one of the things that I think we all realize that sustainability itself is actually extremely complicated. on a global level. It's an enormous network of interdependent processes of nature and man-made things that are going on. So, for example, I didn't really expect that rising gas prices would make it difficult to kill pigs. But complication isn't an excuse really for the things that we can do, that we can control. So that's very important. I guess I've always been a bit of a cynic about planting trees to save life. My concern there is, what do we do with them when trees get to the end of life? Should we in fact turn them into rafts so that it'll help us to avoid the floods and we can get on them and take our animals and so on as well? Maybe that's not exactly the plan, but I look forward to really doing something sustainable for the planet. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Chris. Thank you. We as I say, we are fired up, and this is not going away. And we are of the older generation, so by 2050, will I still be around? I don't know, but it's our younger people I worry for, as always. We've had a few questions, not very many, but just a few. The major question was from two companies, and it was about the role of trying to get our young people involved in green sustainability. Now, I had a chat with Wayne about this earlier, so I think he's got lots of answers to this. But my thought is, I think the young are more probably involved than we are, but that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, Wayne, what's Hounslow Council doing on this?
Yeah, Sally, I think it's really important.
Sorry, Wayne, your microphone's a bit low at the moment. Sounds a bit low.
Is that better? Excellent. Sorry, I've now got this little dot in front of me, but yeah, I think it's extremely important that we not only sort of talk to our young people to engage them in this subject, but it's also critically important that we listen to them, their views. And Sally, some of the young people across Hounslow and elsewhere astound me at their knowledge on these subjects, and I think they're a really useful source of influencing their parents, their families, and others, and I think that's critically important. But I think it's also important that we're transparent to them about what we're doing, because as you say, this is going to affect them in the future, and I think it's absolutely critical for us to prove that we're doing the right things. So what's Hounslow doing? So we've recently launched an Eco Schools program in partnership with Keep Britain Tidy. Essentially, it's like an accreditation process for schools in terms of what they're doing to recycle, decarbonize, tackle air pollution through sort of green walls and tree planting, and in some cases sort of installing new ventilation and different kinds of ventilation systems, so that our schools can help improve air quality. Just today, actually, I'm going to be whizzing off pretty soon to talk at a seminar that we're holding in the borough with our primary schools and our primary school students who are going to be participating in workshops. That's followed this afternoon by a secondary school seminar where we'll be sort of doing some workshops with young people. I'm astounded at how much we learn from just sort of participating in them sessions, not just in terms of a local approach, but more broadly. But I think it's also important that we continue that dialogue with our young people. So we're certainly working with the Uni of West London. Cranfield have been involved, as well as the University of Westminster, where sort of fresher students have been doing a lot of work in terms of town planning and their studies, but also looking at specific neighborhoods. So I mentioned in my presentation that 15-minute neighborhood, and those students are actively engaged in sort of devising strategies and plans and actual specific actions. So they're very much part of the entire approach that we're taking, and we're taking quite a holistic approach to our neighbourhoods, and you heard how important businesses are to that as well. But just listening to some of the stories from other participants, these are our young consumers of the future as well, and helping them to make the right choices is absolutely critical. I hope that answers the question, at least in part.
Yeah, no, it does. No, thank you very much. Sorry, am I still muted?
No,
we can hear you loud and clear, Sally.
So I'm reading the chat. I'm multitasking, which is all a bit of a nightmare. I'm reading the chat box as well. Sam Goodsall is with us from Menzies, and he is he's congratulating Trash to Go on their new business idea, and he's talking about there's a brilliant program, the Panorama program from a couple of weeks ago, Coca-Cola billion bottle problem, a great watch for anyone wanting to see the impact of passing on the problem. So there's a recommendation. If you haven't seen it, go find it on iPlayer, on Catch Up. We're almost there now, so I just want to thank everybody for their time this morning, to all our speakers, to the council for helping make this happen. And please, there's some interesting stuff in the chat box, so have a look at that before we all disappear, if you see what I mean. And yeah, thank you very much indeed. I'll give you an extra 2 minutes. You can go off and think what you can do next to save the planet. All right.
1% of the planet.
Yeah. Go carefully, keep safe, and hopefully see you soon. All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.